Hello, my friend. Welcome to today's class, Yoga in Your Kitchen. My name is Brenton for anybody who's new to me. And the purpose of today's class is really to get us used to utilizing our home environment for movement purposes and getting us thinking a little bit outside the box in terms of how we use our environment when we're at home. Because I don't know about you, but at home I tend to be a little bit like this and just a little bit lazy all the time and just kind of lounging and slouching around everywhere. And what I've been trying to do more this year is incorporate more movement into more hours of my day, more minutes of my day in seemingly regular environments. And that's helped me feel a lot better in my body, aches and pains in my joints and my muscles and things like that. And it also reminds me that in our current modern day culture, we allocate, 60 minutes for exercise by going to the gym or rolling out our yoga mat. But ideally, our body is made to move a little bit most of the time. And so I'd like to get back to that personally. And I think that this is also an appropriate class for this time of year because we will be spending a lot more time in the kitchen with family and holidays and things like that. And you may not be able to get around to your 60 minutes preferred movement zone. So you may need to get a little bit creative and outside the box during this holiday season. So let's go ahead and get started. One of the major tools we'll use for today is our countertop, our trusty countertop. So you can feel free to find any countertop you'd like. This doesn't necessarily need to be in the kitchen, but I'm just gonna take my hands here and just take a couple of moments to rock in the feet forward and backward. Breathe a little bit deeper. Rounding my feet, centered in the front to back and then the left to right. Feeling that my pelvis is up over my heels, taking the hands to the pelvis now, feeling a little bit of balance there as I tip the pelvis forward and backward. And this just helps me understand, what's my habitual pelvis placement? Could I find something that's more neutral where my frontal hip bones are more just straight up and down? And my low back is in the most natural, smallest baby back bend curve, and that everything feels well supported in here. And then once that starts to feel better, even if I feel like I'm holding on with some muscles, that's normal. Sliding the hands up to the rib cage, doing the same thing, tipping the rib cage up and back. Again, with the intent to kind of find where you habitually hold your ribs, and seeing if you can get your ribs to pull up and back over your pelvis. And then taking the hands behind the head without moving the rib cage, right? So we're not doing this, but my rib cage is pulled up over the pelvis, and then taking the hands back behind the head, using them to guide the head up and back. If you have a broomstick or like a mop handle around, you can put that behind here and see if you can feel your low back, your sacrum right above your butt crack, your upper ribs behind your shoulder blades, and then the back of your head. All of those 3 points should touch on your broomstick. And then from here, what we'll do is we'll start warming up the back side of the body. So specifically these big butt muscles. What I'm gonna do from here is I'm gonna step back a little bit from the counter, still gonna hold on here. I'm gonna tip a little bit forward, just slightly, and stick my left foot out behind me. So a little bit of activation through that leg there, but I'm still trying to imagine that all of those points of my spine are on my broomstick, and we're just gonna pulse. Heel up a couple of times. Nice, easy, deep breathing. And we're trying to get this movement to happen at the leg, but not at the pelvis. So maybe I'm gonna take my right hand to that left frontal hip bone here, a little mapping, and try to hold that hip bone into the body in place as this left leg explores a little bit of pulsing. Taking that foot down, we can go ahead and try the other side there. And this is a really great thing to do, if you're in the morning, you're waiting for your coffee, you're waiting for your soup, in the afternoon, you're waiting for the water to boil. You know, this is just one of those really great things that when you find yourself hanging around a countertop and you have the option to sort of just like spill over the counter versus doing something like this is just a great way to get into the glutes. And we definitely want these guys to be very strong, easily activated for us throughout our day. And with all the sitting that we do, they tend to get a little bit sleepy. Okay, so feeling the feet now down on the ground, you can go ahead and turn so that your left side is exposed away from the countertop. With the right hand on the countertop, again, find yourself nice and centered. We're always going to return back to that place where you feel yourself nice and lifted up on your broomstick. And then from here, without tipping the pelvis or the ribs or the spine, seeing if we can, I'm going to get a little bit more space here, pull the left leg up in front. Okay, so from the side view here, I'm not scooping my pelvis under, I'm not doing anything like this. I want to make sure that the pelvis is nice and upright here. I'm actually going to use my free hand on my torso to help guide this as I just open and close the leg like a little book. Now I want this movement to be coming right from the hip crease. Again, I'm trying to hold nice and still in my pelvis. And then the next time you hold it open, flex the foot. We're gonna actually rotate this leg, turning the knee down and pushing back through the heel. So here's the side view of that. We're gonna push it all the way back without moving in the pelvis or the spine again. So right here, I'm trying to get back on my broomstick. And then from here, we're gonna bring the knee all the way up in front of us. So we're gonna start these hip circles. So we move it out first, trying to hold nice and strong in the standing leg. Less is more here. And then we're going to turn the knee down, pushing back through the heel, bringing both knees together, bringing the left knee up in front. Let's do this one more time. Opening the left leg like a book, not the pelvis though. Your right leg's super strong. We're gonna rotate the knee and push back through the heel, taking both knees next to each other and pulling that leg up. Let's go ahead, trade sides, and then we'll flip the circle. So I'll go ahead and stand with my back to you as I bring the right leg up in front, right? So if you want that side view, again, here it is. I'm trying to get nice and lifted up onto the broomstick there. So from here, trying not to move the pelvis as I open the right knee out to the side. We're just gonna open and close it a few times. So exposing the body to that range, trying to keep ourselves nice and strong. And I would recommend doing less range of motion with more control and more strength, and that will gradually make your nervous system feel safe enough to allow you more range of motion with more strength. So open that leg out. We're gonna go ahead, push back through the heel, taking it all the way back, really utilizing the butt, maybe even the hamstring muscle for that. Drawing the right knee up in front. We're gonna take this 2 more times. So right, divorce this from the pelvis. You're just moving your leg. Divorce it from movement of the ribs and of the spine. So here the brain is learning how to have the hips do hip things. As you're ready, release the right leg down. So starting to feel really warm now, right? Let's go ahead, bring the left leg up in front again. This time we're gonna reverse the circle. So keeping everything up on your broomstick, we'll go ahead and draw the left knee down by the right knee. And now we're going to open the knee out down here, and we're gonna lead with the knee as we draw it all the way out and forward. So you get it, it's like the reverse circle. As you go down, and then holding the pelvis really, really still here as you start to open out and in front. One more time like that. If you feel crunchies in your joints, as long as there's no like pain, sharp pain or anything like that, that's probably just our brain trying to figure out what we're asking of ourselves. So we did 3 on that side. Let's go ahead, turn it around, do 3 on the other. Start with the right leg up. You'll bring the right knee by the left knee back here. The leg's nice and active. We're gonna rotate the leg open, lead with the knee out and forward. Doing that 2 more times. After this last one, go ahead, set your legs down. See how your legs feel here. Mine definitely feel a lot more alive and awake, so it's a great thing to do first thing in the morning. So let's go ahead, start warming up through the upper body as well. We'll find a plank with our countertop. So just find a place on the countertop where you can stretch your hands wide, and the distance of your hands should be set by how wide your collarbones are up here naturally. So you want to get this space nice and broad rather than it being something like this, right? So we get ourselves nice and broad, getting ourselves up on our broomstick. And then from here, we're going to lean the hands forward onto the countertop and start to walk the feet back. Now here's where we each kind of need to decipher and get very sensitive to like the distance between the feet and the countertop, because right, like if I go out here, it's going to be a much different experience than if I'm up here. So you've done plank on the ground, probably, I would assume. So you know that like plank on the ground, you're trying to find this 90-degree situation right here. So we see like, where would I need to step my feet to kind of get me? It's always a little bit of a situation to try to get me here. And there is quite a bit of work in the feet and in the calves that are happening here. We're just taking our time to activate through the arms, so you get a sense that the fingers are all active and that the hands are, their combination pulling and pushing. And we're breathing. And we feel the arms straighten, and we feel that the length is set here from the hand to the shoulder blade. So we pull the ribs into the shoulder blades, we pull the pelvis up to the height of the shoulder blades, and now we can just feel the pose a little bit more specifically. Okay. Now, before we get into push-ups or anything like that, I want to turn on my upper body a little bit more. So here I'm going to find something heavy in my kitchen. For me, it's going to be this guy. But you may have like, a gallon of milk or something like that. So find something heavy, even if you have like a free weight lying around. And find, again, your standing position where your pelvis is upright, you're upright over it, your head's back. And now we want to hold this position, and this is loading our one arm asymmetrically, and we're just going to walk around. So you just walk around, walking around. I'm going to stay close to the camera, but walk around truly like anywhere in your house. Just start walking around, and walk around enough that you start to feel the work happening in that arm for you, maybe all the way up into the chest, maybe into the armpit, into the shoulder. And this just gets those muscles turned on so that they're a little bit more usable for us when we go in to do our countertop push-ups. My favorite thing. So whenever I'm doing dishes and I get this guy, sometimes it's nice to just walk around with him for a little bit. You can go ahead and change your hands. So switch it up. Find yourself, before you start walking, always reset. Sometimes it's more confusing than others. One side might be more confusing than the other side. That could be totally normal. And we want our neck to feel well positioned here. When we pull the head up and back into that imaginary broomstick, that's us setting our chin in neutral. And so we may not have access to a neutral chin right out of the gate when we first are introduced to this concept, but over time, as you keep practicing, you'll definitely have more and more ability to find that neutral chin. And then the more that your chin is in neutral, I bet the better your neck will feel. Okay, so let's go ahead, take whatever heavy object you have down. Do you feel a little bit more turned on all in the upper body? I hope your answer is yes. Let's come back to our countertop plank position. So you have a second opportunity to kind of figure out the distance between everything there. Okay, this is one of my favorite places to practice push-ups because you're not loading your arms with all of your body weight. So this is a great way to learn push-ups, especially if you've been practicing them for a while and you feel like man, like I just don't feel like I'm getting the strength adaptations, right? Like maybe you've been surviving chaturangas for several years, but maybe you don't feel like you've quite yet gotten that strength where you feel like, man, this is actually leading to something bigger. So this is a great way to find that. So first here, I want to find the plank position where I can feel my entire body from my feet all the way out through my head. I feel my chest is nice and open here. And now I'm gonna imagine again that my spine is on the broomstick. If you have a friend around with a broomstick, you can have them actually come and lay the broomstick on top of you and see if you can maintain this. Because here, what we're gonna do is bend the elbows and start to lower towards the countertop any amount. You wanna maintain all those points of contact on your broomstick. And then we're gonna push into the countertop and come back up. So let's go ahead and try this about 4 or 5 times for this round. Trying to move nice and slow and controlled. So my new motto is these days, if you can't do it slow, you haven't earned the right to do it fast. So here is where we're getting into that nice, slow, controlled way of doing things. And if this is feeling pretty accessible to you, maybe what it's saying is you could progress down to a bench, you could progress down to a stair. After this last one, let's go ahead, walk the feet up, release the arms, shaking out through the wrists a little bit, maybe even interlocking the hands, rolling through the wrists a little bit left and right. So one of my all-time favorite things to do with that countertop are those push-ups. We'll do another round of them, but you can feel the difference when you do the farmer's walk with the object, the heavy object. You just need to make sure that your object is heavy enough that it actually turns things on for you, okay? So here, let's go ahead, take the hands back to the countertop. We'll do something a little bit more restorative. So we'll walk the feet back. And then from here, we're gonna hinge at the hips as we start to fold forward any amount. So don't think that you need to come down as far as me here, but we definitely want to be initiating this right here at the hip hinge rather than me initiating it like this. So this is not gonna feel very good. What's gonna feel good is me getting on my broomstick with the hands on the counter and then figuring out my feet are back and then figuring out how to get this deep crease right here at the hip. The butt is back and we just come down as much as is comfortable here. Not feeling like we're slamming into any of our shoulder joints here, but rather push into the palms. And it's almost like the palms are trying to traction back towards your body. And so you feel like the torso is more like a trampoline. Nice, easy breathing there as the armpits open. Maybe even you feel the backs of the legs open or the butt open. You know, even sort of twist your rib cage a little bit here. And then from here, unhinging at the hips, walking ourselves all the way forward. Ta-da! Okay. Let's think about things that we do in our kitchen all the time. One thing that I do in my kitchen all the time is dishes. And I think whether you're doing dishes at the sink or whether you're doing them by loading them into the dishwasher, we don't load the dishwasher because we don't have enough dishes. By the time our dishwasher is full, we need the dishes already. So, however you do that in your house, think about using that time to cultivate some of these strong standing positions. So let's go ahead. If you have dishes to do right now, I recommend doing them while we're doing this together, because that's actually the point of this practice, is to get us getting more out of it. So heels in, toes out, coming down. You know, this is going to depend on how tall you are and how tall your sink is. So you kind of need to find the right position for being up or down from the floor, but I find I'm 5'7", I'm a little bit taller than my sink, so when I get down like this, I can actually stay nice and upright and I can move through the legs. So let's go ahead and do that. Find horse, Heels in, toes out. You can be doing your dishes, loading your dishwasher, or you can just be chilling out with me in your kitchen, because that's also a fun place to do this. So we'll just get a little bit bouncy here. You want to definitely feel bouncy in the joints here. Nothing too static, nothing too rigid or anything like that. And you can practice shifting from one side to the next, because that's what you do when you're doing dishes, right? You're like over here, and then you're like, okay, I'm gonna put it over here. Or you're like, oh, I'm gonna load it into the dishwasher, right? So get your legs used to supporting you, a little bouncy there, pushing and pulling from left to right, side to side. And then when you're doing dishes, your torso is also moving, right? So you can practice working with your torso a little bit, with your legs nice and strong. And then from here, let's go ahead, come back up to a standing position. You can use your counter to walk yourself in. If you have more dishes to do, feel free to pause this, finish your dishes, and then you can come back to our position. So let's go ahead and let me grab something that doesn't have water in it. Ooh, none of that's really gonna work for me. Okay. So let's go ahead and grab a mug, any mug. This is a great drill to do when you're waiting for your tea to boil. So what we're gonna do here is, now that we've prepped and we've actually activated a lot of the muscles of our body, I think it's gonna be easier for us to stand in a neutral position. So we did that before, right? Where we pulled the pelvis back, the ribs are up, the head is up. We have somewhat of an understanding of what neutral is. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna take the teacup in my left hand, and I want to just ensure this is gonna be like some shoulder mobility work here. I really want to target the shoulder. So that means that I want to not target everything else. So I'm imagining that, like, literally from my left armpit in this way, I'm frozen, let's say. Okay? And I'm just going to start externally rotating at the shoulder, in and out. And I'm going to try to do this without moving the ribs. And I'm going to try to do this without leading with my wrist, because the wrist is going to be wanting to sort of pull the arm along for the ride here. And what we're suggesting is, I'd rather have muscles up here in the arm actually doing the work to rotate the bone open and closed, okay? So this is step one. You can work here just exposing yourself to external rotation. And external rotation, one, is challenging to do because we spend a lot of our day internally rotated when we're sitting down at the computer, at the car wheel, like all that kind of stuff. Two, our external rotators are less and smaller than our internal rotators. And three, just like a lot of the demands in yoga, for a push-up, for example, demands that we have this external rotation where we're nice and open right here, okay? So from here, what we're gonna do, again, I'm frozen from the inside. Now I'm actually gonna lead with my elbow as I pull my elbow back and I pull the cup towards my side. And I wanna do this in a way like I maybe am activating things up in here, but I don't want anything to feel overly taxed. So now my elbow is back and I'm pulling the hand in and I'm feeling a deeper stretch through these muscles right in here. I'm gonna see if, without moving my body, do I have enough clearance here to move the cup around and back. Okay, I'm gonna turn my kettle off. That's loud and annoying. So from here, how do we get back? We initiate at the elbow as we pull the cup into the side, and then we move it around back to that externally rotated position. So here we go. We see, can I bring the elbow wide, the cup into the side, and then push the cup back? Can you see how my chest is still nice and open here? Then I'm leading with the elbow, pulling the cup back in, taking it around into the outside. Here we go, let's do that again. Pulling the cup into the side, pushing it back, leading with the elbow as I pull the cup in and around. So let's do this a couple more times, and remember, you don't have to do this whole range of motion. Something else might be more appropriate for you. And if you don't have the mobility today in the shoulder to get this clearance of getting the cup around, you can move the rest of your body, but I find that adds too much complexity for me when I'm just trying to get a read on my shoulder. Okay, so let's go ahead, call it quits on that left side, see how you feel here. I feel like a lot of stuff turned on. Definitely stuff turned on in my neck and in the top of my shoulder. That actually is starting to feel good to me. So it does take a little bit of time to distinguish like those good feeling sensations and activations versus ones that you maybe want to back away from and reposition yourself. So let's try it on the other side. Remember, we want to start in a nice standing position where everything is in neutral, and then we're just working with the external rotation of our right shoulder. External rotation of the right shoulder. And it will take a couple of repetitions for you to actually feel like, where's the movement being generated from? Could I get muscles close to these bones up here and behind me to really generate this movement? So after a few repetitions of this, here we go, opening the cup. From here, I want to keep my chest right here nice and open. I want to keep like the head of my arm bone, I imagine it like a golf ball. It's snug into the T of the shoulder blade. And from here, I'm going to lead with the elbow as I pull the cup in by the side and push it back. As long as that feels good, I'm working through that full range of motion. And while I'm back here, I'm still lifted up like this. So this is shoulder extension back here, right? Like when we fly our cape. But I'm not doing this, okay? So everything is still up on the broomstick. From here, I'm gonna lead with the elbow again as I pull the cup around and back into the externally rotated position. So let's do that for a few repetitions. And we're not aiming for perfection, just more precision than last time. Let's do one more. And hopefully by this time, your tea kettle would be ready, so you can go ahead and just make yourself that cup of tea. But now that we have exposed our shoulders to this nice external rotation, let's come back to our plank pose on the countertop. And feeling that sense of external rotation here is when the elbows, instead of pointing wide, they would point more down to the floor. Okay, that will set the shoulder open where you feel like there's openness through this front part of the chest. So finding plank pose here, want to get a sense of everything on the broomstick again, right? As best I can. Doesn't need to be perfect. And then just finding a position that feels about right. Here we go. Could I bend my elbows and lower slowly, keeping everything on the broomstick. Pushing up, seeing if I got a few more reps of that. Okay, after this last one, let's go ahead and walk our feet in a little bit, but not too much, as we soften down into that forward fold again. So trying to, again, create this movement at the hip crease right in here. That's like the underwear crease. Tractioning some length through the spine. Easy does it. And then from here, seeing if we can, you could even test and see, like, could you hold that? I mean, nothing glass, but like, could you hold something on your low back? And then from there, we're gonna see, could I stretch the left leg out behind me? Modified warrior 3, keeping the pelvis where it is, bringing that left leg back underneath the body. Want to keep the pelvis nice and stable. As I kind of kick back, I'm gonna scoop back through that leg as it goes up, keeping the pelvis nice and stable as I bring the right leg back underneath. So it's like I'm trying to scoop gum off the foot as I press back. Taking it back underneath. One more time on the other side. Okay, from here, coming all the way up, coming back to the counter with the left side of the body exposed. And here I'm just gonna have the hand on the hip, bringing the left leg in front. I'm just gonna kind of swing the leg. Whoop, I need a little bit more space. Swing the leg forward and back. Now again, I'm trying to get this to happen without the pelvis moving. You'll notice when you're newer to these isolating movements that your brain tends to move everything in a big clump. That's normal. And that's why we say we're not aiming for perfection. We're just aiming for more precision than last time. As you feel ready, go ahead, turn yourself to the other side. Here we go. And there are so many different things you could do here. I'm going to turn back around, coming to a couple of heel bops here, just coming up and down on the feet, utilizing the countertop, coming up and down, picking up the pace. Coming once again to that forward fold with the hands on the counter, walking ourselves back any amount. And then from here, I'm gonna hold on the countertop and I'm gonna see, could I pull the front body into the back body as I take the hips down to the floor. And if my heels lift up there, that's okay. Maybe I'll walk myself into the point if I could get my heels on the ground. Maybe it's more something like that. But I'm using the countertop as traction to pull. You could also use an oven door handle here. And then that way it actually makes you use like less support, because if you pull too hard, the oven door will open on you. So that's actually my preferred way of doing it. And we'll see here, we're gonna see, could I move from the ankles, knees, and hips to lift myself back up to basically that starting place, and then bending at the ankles, knees, and hips, front body to back body as I take the hips down. Playing with that a couple of times. After this last time, coming all the way on up there, stretching, maybe reaching the arms all the way up to the sky, moving around a little bit in any way that feels good to you. Let's see, one more final stretch here with the countertop. Instead of putting the hands on the counter, what if we put the elbows on the counter and we clasped our hands and then we walked ourselves back? So maybe this gets a little bit more into the triceps, the upper arms. And again, we don't want to feel like we're sagging into that shoulder joint. We want to feel like the whole body is lifting into the shoulder blades, getting nice and long here. If you can get that sense of the spine being on the broomstick, power to ya. Easy breathing, easy eyes. As we feel ready, lifting all the way on up out of that, stretching the arms all the way up to the sky. Let's go ahead and find a seat. You can sit down wherever you like. I'll just sit down here since I vacuumed the carpet last night and we have carpet in our kitchen. Who knows why? But let's go ahead and find a comfortable seat together today here. You can just chill out together. If you feel like it's okay to close your eyes, then close your eyes. And just give yourself a few moments here of sitting quietly where even though your mind might be going off in different directions and your to-do list might be scrolling through your head, the value here is that we're not acting on any of that stuff. The value is that we have paused the momentum, and in doing that, we open ourselves up to new patterns of thinking and behaving that are maybe a little bit more optimized. There are plenty of additional movements that you can do in your kitchen, especially because for a lot of us, there's a little bit of open space in here. So there's a lot of fun things you can do that don't require a countertop. Jumping jacks, other different types of standing yoga poses, different types of movements for different types of modality. And I would really encourage you to, if you have this idea of what yoga is like traditional Western postural yoga, to really start expanding your idea of that to, yoga is just a way of me living in an optimal way. It's me being a good manager of my body. Sometimes me being a good manager of my body means that I do yoga poses, but sometimes it means I go for a run. Sometimes it means that I do some jumping jacks or some push-ups or other things like that. And so I think if we can begin to see our home environment as a jungle gym of sorts, not just the place that we go and we crash our bodies, but that this is actually a very engaging place where we have the ability to really utilize this the same way that like a toddler utilizes their space, by pulling themselves up to things and crawling down to things and over to things and all of that kind of stuff. So if anything, I hope that today just widened the horizon for you in terms of how you might start incorporating movement outside of a 60-minute period into the rest of your life. And that all of these little snacks, while you can just turn this video on and just get in your kitchen while you're waiting for your banana bread to bake or whatever, you can get in here, you can do this class again. But I'd also hope that after doing this practice, you can pull out little 5-minute bits to pop in here and pop in there in your day, and especially over the holiday season as you spend more time in the kitchen, baking, cooking, all of that kind of stuff. Bring these tool sets in, share them with your family, bond over movement rather than, saying, let's not talk about politics. Let's find something we can share together and can talk about that does facilitate connection and bringing us together. So thank you all for joining today. I will be back here next Saturday morning live at the same time. I'll be back on our yoga mat over there, and we'll do something a little bit more restful, gentle after the big Thanksgiving weekend. Definitely want to make sure that our nervous systems are all cool, calm, and collected as we come out of that holiday and we move forward into a bigger holiday season. So before I stop streaming today, let me just finish up some announcements. If you're newer to me and you like what we did today, I definitely encourage you to check out the other classes on my channel, especially the ones that we've been doing recently, introduce you to the concepts of neutral pelvis, rib cage, all of that kind of stuff. So all of these classes are designed to re-educate you and get your body well positioned and understanding movement in a way that feels good and that isn't confusing. That's a big thing for me. Movement has been historically very confusing for me. So it's even, weird in my head that I've turned into a movement professional because it just doesn't seem very likely. So I encourage you to watch all of those practices. And then of course I invite you to follow me on Instagram and on Facebook, where we share different movement snacks every single day. Some of which we share in these online classes, but sometimes not. So definitely go over there and check out all of those goodies. And then I do have a fully operating website, yogainyourlivingroom.com. It has all my videos on there, tons of blog posts you can go read. I really like that website to just be a place where a rabbit hole that you can deep dive into, really get some good movement going in your life and get some of those questions answered that we all come across as we learn to move our bodies. Now, having said that, on my website, you can sign up for my weekly letter that comes out every Sunday. We have movement stories, different things that I'm learning, and also schedule for the week, all that kind of stuff. It's like your one-stop shop. I definitely recommend you to sign up for that. And then last, but definitely not least, if you feel compelled to donate to this work, right now we're doing everything on donation basis. And so if you'd like to contribute, I have a link in the description below. You can head to our website to make a one-time donation or to sign up and donate to us monthly on our Patreon. So I think that's all I have for you today. Of course, if you have any questions or you'd like my opinion on anything, leave it in the comments below and I will get back to you either through the comments or next weekend in our live video. So thank you all for joining today. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you soon.